I never thought I'd be sitting here, talking about this. But here we are. Honestly, I didn't think it would go this far, but it did. And now, here I am, alone. My name's Jenna, I'm 31, and I really don't even know where to start. Okay, so here's the deal. My husband Brad is a great guy, he works hard, he's loyal, and he's always been there for me. But I guess I've been feeling a little restless, you know? Nothing huge, but I started to feel like maybe I was missing something. I mean, Brad and I have been married for almost 10 years. We've got 2 kids, Emma's 8 and Jake's 5. I love them, of course, but somewhere along the line, I felt like I lost a part of myself. Then out of nowhere, I get this message from my college ex, Aaron. We hadn't spoken in years, not since graduation. He reached out to catch up, and I thought, why not? I mean, it's been forever. We had a great time back then. No harm in talking, right? So I texted him back, and it turns out he was planning a birthday party in California. And guess what? He invited me. All expenses paid. The man was flying me out there saying I could stay with him for the weekend. And at first I was like, okay, this is a little weird, but whatever. But then I started thinking, it might actually be fun. A weekend getaway? For me? I deserve that, right? I didn't tell Brad. Not because I thought it was wrong, but because I knew he'd never approve. He'd probably say something about me not needing to be around an ex or setting a bad example for the kids. But I wasn't doing anything bad. We were just friends. Reconnecting. Just catching up. No big deal, right? So I told Brad I was going to visit an old sorority friend of mine. Totally harmless, right? I even pretended like it was a last-minute thing because she was in town for a weekend event. That seemed believable enough. It wasn't like I was lying about anything huge. I left for California, and honestly, I was so excited. The flight was paid for, Aaron's covering the hotel, his house, actually, and I didn't have to worry about a thing. Brad didn't even seem that bothered when I left. He kissed me goodbye, told me to have fun. But I could see the little look in his eyes, you know? Like he wasn't 100% sure what was going on. I spent the weekend with Aaron, and let's just say, things got interesting. We did some catching up, went out for drinks, reminisced about the good old days. He showed me around the city. There was chemistry between us, no doubt. But I wasn't doing anything wrong. I kept reminding myself of that. I kept saying, I'm just having fun, just catching up. But if I'm being honest, I knew there was something deeper. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't planning to mess things up. I wasn't going to do anything I'd regret. I love Brad. I really do. But after a few too many drinks on Saturday night, things escalated, and I don't even know why. It just happened. It wasn't planned, but I didn't stop it either. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. The next morning, I felt like absolute crap. I didn't even want to think about it. I told myself I'd chalk it up to one of those things. I had a few too many drinks, I was just letting off some steam. Aaron and I didn't talk about it, and I didn't want to. I just told myself that the weekend was over, and it was time to go home. I flew back to Chicago and was on my way home. I was so ready to get back to my life, my kids, my routine. But something was different. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like a stranger in my own house when I walked in. Brad was there, sitting on the couch, watching TV. He gave me this cold stare when I walked in. He didn't say anything right away, but I could feel the tension. Hey, how was the trip? He asked, his voice flat. It was fine, I said. I was trying to be casual, trying to act like everything was normal, but it wasn't. I could feel it. I just didn't know what to say. I could tell something was off. He wasn't just being quiet because I was tired. It was more than that. I knew he was upset, but I didn't know why. I couldn't even think of a good reason why he'd be upset. I didn't do anything wrong, right? I changed the subject, made small talk, talked about the kids. But he wasn't having it. He just sat there, staring at me with this expression I couldn't read. The silence was so thick. Finally, after what felt like hours, he said, Jenna, what really happened this weekend? I froze. The blood drained from my face. He knew. I didn't know how, but he knew. I should have known better. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. I was so caught up in my own little world that I didn't see how obvious I was being. But it didn't hit me until later that night. Brad had been pretending to sleep, lying there with his back to me, but I could feel his eyes on me through the darkness. I was scrolling through my phone when I got a text from Aaron. It was late, I was tired, but I couldn't resist reading it. Something about the way he texted me, those little flirtatious jokes that we always joked about in college, it sent a rush through me. It was like I could feel the heat from California, even though I was back home. The message was innocent enough on the surface, but I knew Brad could hear every word I said when I picked up the phone. He was quiet, but I could feel the tension in the air. I didn't realize it at the time, but I should have known better. I answered the text with a quick reply. Then Aaron called. And like a fool, I picked up the phone without thinking. "Hey," I whispered into the phone, trying to keep it low so Brad wouldn't hear. "I miss you." Aaron's voice came through clear as day. "When's the next time I can see you?" I didn't even realize how loud I was getting until I heard Brad stir beside me. I could feel his body tense up, like he was awake but pretending to be asleep. My heart raced, but I couldn't stop myself. I'd been avoiding this conversation all weekend, but here I was, letting it slip right through my fingers. "Shh," I whispered. "Not now, Aaron, please." Brad's silence was deafening, and I could feel his eyes boring into me, even though he was pretending to sleep. I quickly hung up and turned my phone face down on the nightstand, trying to act like nothing had happened. But it was too late. I could feel Brad's mood shift. He didn't say anything that night. He didn't mention the call, the text, nothing. But I could tell he was thinking about it. I could tell he was starting to put things together. The next few days were worse. Brad started asking all these little questions. Little things that I didn't think would matter. Did you book your flight with points? Or did you use the credit card for your plane ticket? Kept brushing him off, telling him it was no big deal, but every question made me feel more guilty. I should have realized it then. He was on to me. He was starting to notice the weird things I'd done. He was putting it all together, even without saying anything. Then came the bank statement. Brad was going through our finances like he always does, checking bills, balances, whatever. And that's when he noticed. He didn't mention it to me right away, but I could see his face when he was looking at the screen. The moment the words "no flight charges" hit him, I knew something was coming. "Jenna," he said one night as he sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through the statements. "You didn't pay for a flight to California." I looked at him, trying to keep my face neutral. "What?" I said, acting surprised. "I told you it was covered by my friend Brad, you know that." But it didn't sound convincing, not even to me. And the thing is, it was too obvious. He wasn't buying it. I saw him raise an eyebrow and take a long, slow look at me like he was analyzing every word I said. "Well, maybe I just missed it on the statement," I mumbled, trying to change the subject. "I don't know, maybe it was a weird charge." But Brad wasn't stupid. He wasn't buying any of my excuses anymore, and I could feel him starting to get fed up with my lies. A few more days went by, and the tension in the house was unbearable. Brad wasn't being overt about his suspicions, but I could tell he was watching me. He was paying attention to everything I said. I felt like I was walking on eggshells every time I opened my mouth. Then, one night, it happened. He asked to borrow my phone. I didn't think anything of it at first. I handed it over like it was no big deal, but I noticed the way he was holding it. He wasn't just checking his messages or making a call like he said he would. He was holding it like he was going through something. I didn't say anything at first. I figured he'd hand it back, and that would be the end of it. But then I saw him pause. His finger was scrolling through something, and his brow furrowed. He didn't look at me, but I could feel him reading something. My stomach sank. "Everything okay?" I asked, my voice a little too high-pitched. I tried to act casual, but I couldn't help it. I knew what he was doing. "I'm just checking something," he said, his voice clipped. And then a beat later, he looked up at me, his eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. "You sure there's nothing you want to tell me, Jenna?" I felt the blood drain from my face. I wanted to scream, to explain myself, to lie, but the words didn't come out. I just stared at him, knowing he had already found everything. He didn't say another word. He handed me the phone, and I knew he'd seen the messages from Aaron. He'd seen everything, the texts, the calls, the lies. And just like that, I realized I couldn't talk my way out of this. It was over. Brad didn't say a word after he handed me my phone. I could feel the air thick with tension, like he was trying to make sense of everything in his head. But I wasn't going to back down. I wasn't going to admit anything. I'd been caught before, sure, but there was no way I was going to let him think he was right about this. Not after everything I'd done for him. Not after everything he knew I'd sacrificed. This was just a misunderstanding. I could still talk my way out of this. I stared at my phone screen, making a mental note of the text Aaron had just sent me before Brad took it. I miss you, babe. Can't wait to see you soon. I quickly deleted it, but I knew Brad had seen it. He was watching me with that cold, piercing look. I could feel the heat in my cheeks, my heart racing. I just had to stay calm, had to play it cool. Jenna, he said, his voice quieter now but still filled with disbelief. Are you seriously going to lie to me right now? I went through your messages. I saw everything. I saw the flight information. I saw Aaron's name over and over again. I heard the conversation. I could feel myself starting to panic, but I wasn't going to let him win. No way. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, though my hands were shaking. I've told you, Brad. I went to see an old friend from college. It's nothing. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Brad took a deep breath, like he was holding back the anger bubbling up inside him. You're still lying, Jenna? You went to see Aaron, didn't you? You flew out there, and you're lying to my face about it. And you're not even sorry. You think this is just some innocent little trip? I couldn't believe how far this was going. I was angry, embarrassed, but I wasn't going to back down. I couldn't. I'm not lying. I didn't do anything wrong. I snapped, crossing my arms over my chest. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? I needed to get away. I needed to reconnect with someone who actually gets me, okay? You don't understand that. Are you serious right now? Brad's voice rose, his frustration finally breaking through. You go off to another state, lie about who you're with, lie about why you're gone, and now you're telling me I don't understand? I get it. I get it more than you think. I was breathing heavy now, trying to keep my composure. I couldn't believe he was acting like this. It was just a trip. It wasn't like I did anything wrong. And if I could just get him to see that, maybe this would all blow over. I don't know why you're freaking out, I said, lowering my voice to sound calmer. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have lied, but I didn't do anything wrong. You're overreacting. Brad didn't say anything for a long time. He just stood there watching me, like he was waiting for me to finally get it. But I wasn't going to apologize. Not for this. Not for something so small. Finally, Brad turned and walked out of the room. I thought he was done, but I knew he wasn't. I could hear him muttering under his breath. I couldn't even make out the words, but I didn't care. He was just mad. He'd get over it. But he didn't. I heard him rummaging around in the living room. I thought maybe he was going to leave, maybe go stay somewhere else for a while. I couldn't blame him. I was acting like a complete idiot. But I still wasn't ready to admit it. Not yet. A few minutes later, I heard him pick up his phone. I didn't think much of it at first, until I heard him press the numbers. I froze. My heart stopped when I realized what he was doing. Brad was calling Aaron. I knew it the second I heard the phone dial. My entire body went cold. I wanted to shout at him, to stop him from doing this, but I just stood there. I couldn't move. The guilt hit me all over again, but I was too far gone. Brad had been silent during the call, but I could hear the conversation loud and clear. He was asking Aaron for the truth. He was asking him everything he needed to know. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just an argument anymore. This was it. The end of everything. When Brad came back into the room, his face was pale. His eyes were hard, colder than I'd ever seen them before. He didn't yell, didn't raise his voice, but there was a fury behind his gaze that sent a chill down my spine. You want to keep lying to me, Jenna? He asked, his voice calm but laced with rage. You want to tell me you didn't fly out to California to see your ex? You want to tell me you didn't spend the weekend with him, getting on a plane that I didn't know about, staying in his house? You want to keep playing this game? I felt like the room was closing in on me. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, but I couldn't. I had no leg to stand on. Brad had all the evidence. Aaron had confirmed everything, and yet I still couldn't admit it. I didn't do anything wrong, I shouted, more to myself than to him. I didn't. I needed a break. I needed to see someone who understood me. someone who wasn't you. You never listened to me, Brad. You're always so busy, always so focused on the kids. I needed to feel something again. Brad's face twisted with disbelief. So you decide to go and get your fix from your ex? That's your solution? You couldn't talk to me? You couldn't just say that you were unhappy? You had to lie and cheat? I felt a lump form in my throat. I didn't cheat. You don't get it. You just don't get it. He stood there for a long moment, staring at me. Then slowly, he shook his head, disappointment flooding his face. I get it, Jenna. I get it more than you think. You've made your choice. I felt like I was suffocating. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My mind was spinning. I wanted to scream, to run, to fix this, but I couldn't. I knew in that moment that everything had changed. Brad sighed, his voice barely a whisper now. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending like everything's fine when you're doing this behind my back. And just like that, the door slammed shut on everything I thought we had. I didn't know what I was expecting when Brad finally told me he wanted a divorce. I guess, deep down, I knew it was coming. But hearing the words come out of his mouth still hit me like a freight train. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. I wanted to argue, to scream, to say anything to make him stay. But deep down, I knew it was too late. I had already destroyed everything. You've made your choice, Brad said again, his voice cold but resolute. I've already gathered everything I need. The flight receipts, the text messages, Aaron's number in your phone. I'm not going to pretend like everything is fine anymore. I didn't even try to argue. What was the point? I had lied, cheated, and broken his trust beyond repair. I felt my chest tighten as I looked at him, seeing the man I had once loved, the man who had given me everything, now looking at me like I was a stranger. I'm sorry, I whispered, but the words felt hollow. Sorry for what? Sorry because I got caught? Sorry because I'd ruined everything? Sorry because I was about to lose my family? But Brad wasn't listening anymore. His eyes were tired, his expression empty. You're sorry, but you still don't get it. You never understood how much I did for this family, and now you've gone and thrown it all away for some quick thrill with your ex. I wanted to cry. I wanted to take everything back. But I couldn't. The damage was done. There was no undoing the lies, the deceit. And even if I could, I knew deep down, Brad was never going to look at me the same way again. Don't try to call me. Don't try to fix this, Brad continued, his voice softer now, but still firm. I'm filing for divorce. I'm going to get full custody of the kids. You're going to have to figure out your own mess. I couldn't even find the words to respond. My throat was tight, my stomach in knots. I had destroyed my marriage. I had betrayed the one person who loved me unconditionally. Brad left the room, leaving me standing there, completely numb. I sat down on the couch, my mind spinning, my heart breaking. This wasn't how I pictured my life turning out. This wasn't how I thought things would go when I reconnected with Aaron. I thought it would be innocent. I thought I could handle it. But I was wrong. I tried to reach out to Aaron, to tell him what was going on. Maybe he would fix this. Maybe he would want me like I thought he did. But when I called him, it was like talking to a stranger. His voice was cold, distant. Jenna, I don't know what's going on with you, but I can't keep doing this. I thought we had something, but after everything that's happened, I'm done. That's when it hit me. Aaron wasn't in love with me. He wasn't the answer to my problems. He was just a mistake I had made, just another person I had used to fill the void. And now, he didn't want anything to do with me. I tried texting him, calling him, sending desperate messages. But he ignored me. Every time I reached out, I felt more and more like I was losing everything. The weeks went by, and I found myself sitting alone in the house that used to be filled with laughter and love. The kids were with Brad, and I couldn't blame him. He was the one who had been the rock. He was the one who had always been there. And now, he was moving on without me. I thought about everything. I thought about how I had lied, how I had thrown away my marriage for a fleeting moment of excitement, and now I was left with nothing. No Aaron, no Brad, no family. I had burned every bridge I had ever had, and the worst part? I didn't even know if I was truly sorry. I mean, I felt sorry, but deep down I still couldn't admit what I had done. I still didn't fully understand how wrong I was. I tried to pick up the pieces, but they didn't fit anymore. Brad was moving on, and there was nothing I could do to stop him. He was finally free from the lies I had wrapped him in a way, he deserved better. I had dragged him through this mess, and now it was too late for anything to be fixed. Aaron? He was gone, too. He had seen through me. I couldn't even blame him. He had been a part of my past, and I had thought he could be a part of my future. But now, even he wanted nothing to do with me. So here I was, left with nothing but regret and the empty silence of my own choices. I had thrown everything away, my marriage, my family, and the person I had once been. But it was too late for apologies. Brad had made his decision, and he was moving forward without me. And Aaron? Well, Aaron had already moved on too. I guess in the end, I got exactly what I deserved.